I sacrificed my entire life for my family, but when I needed them the most, everyone turned their backs on me. I stayed silent because I had one final plan that no one knew about. I sacrificed my entire life for my family, but on the night I needed my own people the most, my children silenced my calls, and I sat there quietly because I had one final plan that nobody knew about. It was 3 a.m. The entire house was silent, the same large suburban home I had built with the best years of my youth. Soft streetlights spilled through the windows, and every now and then I could hear a car passing outside. The low sound of late-night TV played in the background, but I wasn't really listening. My phone was in my hand, the same phone I had used to call my son 5 times and send my daughter 3 messages, but no one answered. I walked into the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. The cold white light fell across my face. Strange how, sometimes, that little refrigerator light at night can feel like the only company you have. I poured myself a glass of water, but my hands were shaking. The coffee machine sat quietly on the counter, even though for years it had been the first sound I heard every morning. I stood there thinking, did I really spend my entire life only for others? Was I just someone everyone remembered when they needed something? My mind went back to the day my husband lost his job in Boston. We had moved to a new city with almost nothing in our pockets, and our children were still young. I buried my own dreams. I gave up the idea of going back to school. I left the career I loved because someone had to hold the family together. That someone was always me. I worked late nights to support my son Mark. I sold my jewelry to help pay for his college tuition. When my daughter Emily moved to Seattle for school, I emptied my savings account because I never wanted her to feel like she was missing anything. I still remember standing outside Target wanting to buy something for myself but walking away. Instead, I came home carrying bags full of things for my children. I would pass by Starbucks craving a coffee, but I would tell myself, that $5 can be used for something more important. Years passed. My children grew up. They built successful careers. I was happy, maybe too happy. I believed all my sacrifices had finally paid off. But slowly things started changing. First, the phone calls became less frequent. Then the visits became rare. Then every conversation disappeared behind the excuse of being busy. Mom, I'm in a meeting right now. Mom, I'll call you later. Mom, you have to understand, life is so busy. I kept understanding. I always understood. Then came the day when I truly needed them. My health had been getting worse for a while. My doctor told me I needed rest, but I never told my children. I didn't want them to worry. But one night my condition became unbearable. With trembling hands I picked up my phone. I wasn't asking for money. I wasn't asking them to fix everything. I only wanted to hear one sentence. Mom, we're coming. But there was no answer. That night felt like the longest night of my life. I sat on the sofa with tears in my eyes. In front of me was a bottle of Ambien, the sleeping medication my doctor had prescribed because I hadn't been able to sleep properly for months. I picked it up, then slowly placed it back down. No, I wasn't born to disappear. Something changed inside me at that moment. For the first time I realized that I had spent my whole life being strong for everyone else, but I had never truly lived for myself. The next day I made a decision. A decision nobody knew about. Years earlier, when my husband was still alive, we had created a small investment account. Everyone thought that money was gone, but I had quietly protected it over the years. I never told anyone. Not my children. Not my relatives. With that money, I had secretly purchased a small home near Portland. A peaceful place, surrounded by trees, fresh air, and most importantly, a place where I didn't have to prove my worth to anyone. That was my final plan. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to punish my children. I only wanted to find myself again. A few weeks later, when Mark and Emily found out I was selling my old house and moving away, they were shocked. Mom, why didn't you tell us? I looked at them. It was strange. Before I would have rushed to explain myself. Before I would have tried to make them happy. Before I would have blamed myself. But not this time. I simply said, because for the first time in my life I made a decision for myself. They became quiet. Then another truth came out. Emily started crying and admitted that she had felt guilty for months, but she didn't know how to approach me. Mark confessed that he always believed I was strong enough to handle everything, so he never thought I needed support. I listened to them. But this time I didn't hide my pain. I told them, being strong doesn't mean a person never needs someone to lean on. That moment wasn't easy. Years of silence couldn't disappear in one day. But for the first time my children saw me not just as their mother, but as a person. Now some nights I sit in my small home near Portland. Sometimes I listen to the sound of my coffee machine. Sometimes I watch the rain through my window. Sometimes I go out to places I enjoy. I have breakfast alone at diners, read books, and occasionally buy myself my favorite coffee from Starbucks, without wondering if that money should be saved for someone else. Some nights are still difficult. Sometimes the silence of 3 a.m. brings back old memories. But those memories don't break me anymore. They remind me of who I am. That morning, as the sun began to rise and soft light filled the sky, I opened my window. Cool air entered the room, and after many months, I finally felt like I could sleep peacefully. Before closing my eyes, I had one final thought. I had spent my life giving everything to others and forgetting myself, but now I had found myself again. A new day was coming, and this time it wasn't just a new morning. It was a new me. Thank you for staying with this story until the end. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of someone's journey, please support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more emotional and inspiring stories. Your support means a lot and helps us continue sharing meaningful stories with you.